Think of a distant mirage and be open to feelings of blue and flitting sequences of water and dreamy skies. This refreshing palette plays with deep blues and aquas, an important emotional rest from the tires of our daily lives. Blending the inside with the outside world is standard practice architecturally, adding dimension and creating a harmonious essence in our fast-paced and cluttered existence.
My home is a special blue-green, calming, very deep, and so I like it.
Sail New Zealand seas with Onaroa, relax and enjoy Hurstmere Road, or have your own sanctuary in Lake Tekapo. So there we have our blues and greens, or I should say blues and aquas. When you look at the palettes, there's quite a distinguished change between the blues in this palette. We do a lot of work with colour research, and because we're part of the Colour Society and also the International Colour Association, we got a lot of documentation from studies that have been done on colour and colour psychology from around the world. And a lot of the statistics, and this has not changed for many, many years, always suggest that blues, when you ask anyone in the Western world, more than 50% of the population will say blue is their favourite colour. Obviously this can change depending on the object shape, etc., but predominantly that is the standard sort of answer. And this sort of information has always been believed to be a stem back to why is blue so important to us as human beings, and a lot of it stems back to the fact that blue skies, sunny days, obviously increases our mood, and also our deep connection with water. In Milan in April, the Italian designer Paolo Navoni says it beautifully. Blue is my colour. It comes from my feeling. And I think that really sums up blue. It's such a powerful colour. Certainly in a lot of information that we've received from a consumer statistic, a lot of consumers are really, really happy to paint with blue or use blue in accessories. Blue is, and in different shades, from the really light sort of duck-head blues, I suppose, right through to those deep dark navy, almost inky blues. And I think a lot of that is that they just see it so much in nature as well. So we're surrounded by blue, obviously, and it really is a very tranquil colour to work with and to live with, importantly. So this refreshing palette does play with deep blues and aquas, and with the modern home continuing to really blend the interior and exterior, obviously blues are a great colour to use in these areas. Certainly the other thing that we're really seeing a lot more of is water being used in the exterior environment. So we actually saw a fantastic property recently where they'd actually channeled water. I mean, the engineering spec was just massive in this particular place. But, people really trying to adapt, their exterior with their interior and really make that outside an extra living space, truly. And obviously we can see all of the exterior fabrics that are now available to us all. And they're just fantastic, these fabrics. I mean, gone are the days where you have to bring in your cushions and try and find storage for them. Really, a lot of fabrics these days, you can leave them outside. The technology on these fabrics is just fantastic. So there's a lot more coming through in that as well, and we saw it at DesignX this year. There was a lot more exterior furniture coming through, and obviously the big companies such as B&B Italia are really putting a lot of effort into exterior furniture again, and not just your normal tables and chairs. I mean, obviously we see couches, we see everything, coffee tables, you name it. Pretty much anything you'd see in your living room is now available for the exterior. Another example of the blue, which this one really was quite remarkable because we haven't seen colour in our kitchen appliances for many years. But interesting, at the Milan in April, Mark Newson showed a gas hob for Smeg in a royal blue, Whether or not we'll see it down south, I think time will tell. But interesting that, you know, we've had stainless steel. I mean, obviously we've had stainless steel for quite a number of years now. We haven't had a real colour other than white for a long time. So it'll be interesting to see whether we start to see these colours coming into the hard appliances once again. So just from a storyboard perspective, when we looked at blue was just everywhere, in women's fashion especially, which is obviously one of the key things that we look at when looking at forecasts. The Union Jack was everywhere. It was in men's clothing, it was in women's clothing, it was on handbags, it was in shoes, and we're starting to see it in fabrics as well now. We just saw our first cushion come through this week with a huge Union Jack on it. So, you know, this sort of emblem is just everywhere. And remembering a lot of our photos are from France, and we all know how they feel about the English, so surprising it was everywhere in France. The other things that we were looking at, and I talked about the gas hob obviously in the blue. Now obviously the Aga, or those big ranges that you normally see throughout UK and through Paris as well, for France generally, you know, they've got that really lovely almost aqua colour coming through. They also have the blue too, but interesting enough that Smeg have chosen the royal blue. In furniture, outdoor furniture, we saw a lot in the blues, especially in those aquas once again, and often they were either teamed with other blues or into almost the lime greens, so really having that play on sort of the traditional spring colour. So blues were everywhere. Handbags, I mean, I couldn't have taken enough photos of handbags in blue. And it was going back to the 80s, I'm sorry, but 80s blue in very high finished leather, like gloss, almost like a mirror gloss, in handbags and shoes. So it'd be interesting once again to see whether they hit our market in such a big way.